mentions, I work at St Andrews University, and I also work for Explorathon, so that's the Scottish edition of European Researchers' Night. And as part of that, I would describe a significant whack of that over the past year, and prior to that, is making content for social media. Most of which, Barry will hate me saying, is what I would describe as silly videos for kids on social media, which I love doing. But anyway, talk to you about creating engaging social media content. So content creation is a vital element in all contemporary public engagement, I would say. However, few of us manage to actually produce contagious content that internet users will actually engage with, which is a problem because without this level of engagement, your content it really doesn't fulfill its true purpose. Fortunately though, there are many ways to create interesting content, and today I will talk about some practical tips for doing so. But first, let me talk about marketing, because marketing matters. So the same way you prepare a marketing plan for face-to-face events, you need to have a specific and intentional plan for online content for each platform you use. Now, each platform has nuances and best practices for generating engagement. So you need to have a strategy that is specific to the platform that you're using. Now, how consistently you should post should be specific to each social media site also. Some platforms like Twitter, Instagram stories, for instance, they require you to be active pretty much all day long to get the maximum potential from your audience, whereas other post types like regular bog standard Instagram posts and Facebook updates don't. So when determining your post strategy, you should look at factors such as how the algorithms work for each platform and whether content posts chronologically or is curated based on other factors. You can find all this out really easily. All you do is Google that and it will pop up and it will tell you how the algorithms work. I suggest you do that if you've not done it, because understanding the algorithms really does open up a whole new world to you when it comes to social media content. Now, when you're sort of coming up with a social media marketing plan, you should really think about lots of things, but in particular, how often you plan to publish on each social media platform based on the best practices for that platform. So Twitter is different from Facebook, which is different from Instagram, which is different from TikTok. You should think about what type of content you plan to post on each platform as well. Once again, the type of content that works best with those audiences is dependent on the platform. And you should also think about your public engagement or SciComm 101, which is who is your target audience on each platform, because each platform has specific demographics that like to interact with it. So for instance, if you wanted to communicate with, I don't know, teenagers, you might want to use TikTok. You probably wouldn't use Facebook, for instance. So have a think about your target audience. Okay. You should also focus your messaging. So each platform you use has its own unique demographic, like I just mentioned. Now, there is overlap of the people you're targeting on each platform, but it's still essential to understand your demographics because it allows you to have focused messaging. And having a focused message will help you create higher quality content that is, dare I say, on brand and resonates with your audience. And once you've got a solid message that you don't stray from, you can pretty much count on your social media posts to always be relevant to your audience. Now, typically, when running any event, regardless if it's online or face-to-face, I split my marketing into three phases, with three key messages. A little bit of a warning here. I am not a marketing professional, far from it. So feel free to ignore or scoff at what I'm about to say, but this works pretty well for me in the events that I run. So in phase one, that's my sort of raising awareness phase, where the key message is, look at this cool thing you can come to. And the whole purpose of that is to generate a potential audience for my event. So social media is brilliant for doing this, as you can pay to target ads at specific demographics. And you can find and contact groups over social media as well that perhaps contain your targeted audience. And more often than not, they will share your content if you ask them. So actually just getting in touch with groups and asking them to share your content is really important, and not many people do it. or they forget to do it. The second phase is selling your tickets. You don't necessarily have to sell tickets in this, but the key message there is how you can take part in the cool thing that they've learned about. And then last but not least, helping people get in. Because online or face-to-face, people will always struggle to find your event because they've parked in their own car park, or they don't know how to use Zoom, or they don't know how to use Team. So the key message in that phase is, here is how you can get in to see the cool thing that you've bought the ticket for doing. Yay. Now, like I said, I'm not a marketing guru. I know very little about marketing, but that rough plan seems to work pretty well for most of the events that I run online and in person. Last but not least, something that I'm not going to really talk about to do with marketing is use data, be data driven. So to make sure you're getting the best results from your social media marketing, you need to be accurately tracking and measuring all your efforts. So for instance, how many people saw the ad, and then from that, how many people bought a ticket, and from that, how many people came to the actual event. If these numbers are too low or look bad, then next time you should change your tactics perhaps, but always be data driven about that. Okay, cool. So another thing to consider about creating content for social media is what goes on behind the scenes of social media. In particularly, what motivates users to engage with content. So it turns out there is a bit of science behind what motivates users to share digital content. Researchers have discovered a number of psychological triggers that inspire people to engage in online activities. And here on the screen just here are some of the most important ones. So first up, social approval. So people love to express their attitudes and receive affirmative feedback from their circle of friends. And sharing content is a way to express their personality to the group. I'd like to highlight that word affirmative again. They like affirmative feedback, okay, for social approval. Next up, communication. So us as humans, we are social creatures, and we all want to nurture relationships with other people, but we're also lazy. And digital content enables us to be lazy and also effectively communicate easily and frequently. Because instead of meeting someone for a coffee, you can send them a picture of a cat falling down the stairs, and there's your social content made, your communication with them for the day. Also, supporting ideas. So social media is often used to signal support for ideas, political views, and personal beliefs. And I think that's a key one, particularly if you're doing anything that might be a little bit polarizing to your audience. You might have to wrap up whatever your event is so that it seems like it supports their ideas even without supporting their ideas, or at the very least, doesn't contradict their ideas. So something that I always say is you can only change a group of people from the inside. Remember that. So if you're trying to work with people, try not to be polarizing. Social media does not like that. Okay. Last but not least, entertainment. So I think this is the sphere or bubble of social media that I operate mostly in. So I do edutainment stuff quite a lot. And at the end of the day, plenty of people, myself included, use social media to wind down. So entertaining content includes humor, memes, videos, music, and more. Now, it can be difficult to segment the way people interact online because the categories I've just mentioned can and frequently do overlap with one another. However, thinking about these basic motivations is still really useful as a starting point for developing content that will motivate users to get involved. And with that being said, here are my 11 tips to make your social media content more shareable. So number one, create high quality content. Now, this seems like the most obvious point, and it is, but it's also forgotten too often. So there are no shortcuts. Engaging shareable content is always high quality content. So if you focus on superficial topics and don't invest enough time into research or content creation, you cannot expect your audience to become interested and engage. Now, content development can take time and effort. So if you need professional help, here are some simple resources I have used in the past. Here we go. So the first link which you'll get my slides afterwards, I think, is a blog title generator. So this tool will show you the list of the most relevant topics in any given niche. Below that is headline analyzer. So the headline is the first thing that your audience will see, and you have to come up with a catchy and intriguing solution. So headline analyzer will tell you if you've succeeded. It also does this for tweets and posts as well. So that's pretty useful because it tells you if that's catchy and will catch their attention. And last but not least, we have essays on time. So if you decide that serious content creation is out of your reach, you can always ask for help from this expert writing service. Now, there's loads of other things online which offer things like this, but these seem to work pretty well, and I've suggested it to various researchers in the past who've used it. Okay, next up. My next tip is use smart structuring. So internet users want everything there and then. They want everything very quickly. They read very quickly. They want to get information quickly if they're watching a video. And nothing will turn them off more than a wall of text or a big blocky barrier of unneeded dialogue in a video, for instance. So format your content intelligently by, for instance, using numbered lists, bullet points, and so on. Okay. Next up, add value to users' lives. So informative content is great, but if your audience can't put your words in practice, then they will not benefit from what you publish. So a primary goal of content is to solve users' problems and sort of show the audience how to overcome them. Now, this also doesn't just help build, I'm going to say it again, brand loyalty, but it will also keep them coming back for more. So as long as the content you create is genuinely helpful, it's also certain to be passed around and shared. Therefore, they're doing a bit of that marketing for you. Okay, next up, keep your audience in mind. Now, I don't need to tell everyone here, that is your basic thing that you should be doing at the beginning all the time when you're doing SciComm or public engagement. But I'm just mentioning it again. So before even creating or sharing content, you should think about your audience. Ask yourself if it's something they would like to see and share with their friends. If it's not, you need to do something else. Now, once you have some ideas on your audience, the platform you're going to engage with them and what you're going to do, you can even contact your audience and poll your audience to generate comments and perhaps initiate debate. Now, this not only creates engagement, but gives you special insight into what they want. So it gives you more information to help you design your activity. Okay. Next up, trigger emotions. So some of the most successful campaigns, I'm going to say, that I've seen going viral have happened because they sparked strong emotional reactions among users. So a lot of studies have shown that emotions like happiness, anger, or sorrow have the power to engage people and make them share and engage with properly digital content. But with that, quick word, be careful not to co-opt causes that are unrelated to your event. I've seen that happening. People pick up on the fact that it's not really sincere and that can backfire. But when you see an opportunity, contribute, do it, and do it well. Next up, remember the good old times. I think this is actually a really important one that works quite well, I have to say. So never forget nostalgia. So users on the internet universally love content that harkens back to good old memories. And if you analyze your audience precisely, you can get a really easy target for what will appeal to them. And this works super well and super easily. Okay, next up, offer incentives, because who doesn't love free stuff? It's a fact that you can occasionally use to boost the interest in your event, for instance, or content. So frequently, social media pages will offer a giveaway based on a random draw or a lottery. And to enter that draw, the users simply are asked to share, like, or follow a page or some content. Now, this can create a huge ripple effect that more than compensates for any investment that you've got in the reward for that. Next up, exploit trendy topics. So staying up to date with trendy topics is vital for all social media content creators. So you should always follow the latest trends, industry news, and you should use this to create shareable content and engaging content when appropriate. Next up, be funny. Now, your research or whatever you're doing may not be funny, it might be serious. However, your content doesn't have to be. On the contrary, funny posts, images, and videos grab the user's attentions, and promise you a fair portion of the shares. So don't run away from it. And in fact, it's very easy to do. So simply Googling a couple of puns, for instance, to do with whatever you're looking at or whatever your event's about is enough to probably get 10 times the level of engagement on your post. Okay, it works really well. However, warning again with that, if you are using this for marketing event, only use it if that is in line with the tone of the event. Okay, so next up, use video content. So video is the dominant form of online content. As a result, you have to embrace video as part of your content strategy. This is why platforms such as Twitter, which once only shared photos, now allows videos. So with video, you need to ensure everything is captioned or subtitled, not only for accessibility, but also because about 85% of viewers will watch with the sound off. Also, video is not one size fits all. Each platform has different video styles, lengths, formats that work best for them. So have a look at that. And lastly, if you're doing video content, always embed it. Never, ever link to it because no one will click on that link. It has to be embedded. Last but not least, use data once again to make sure you're getting the best results from your social media content. I'm not going to chat about that here, but I'll pass over to Amy in a little bit to discuss that further.